You're listening to the Buck Junkie podcast. Yeehaw.
What's happening, fellas? It's good to be back on the Buck Junkie podcast. Y'all doing all right today?
Doing good.
Man, we had a nice little summer break. You know, we went off, took a little vacation. I think Mark and Jamie, y'all went up to Colorado, did some trail riding and stuff.
I wish I had that weather here.
Yeah, ready to go back.
Ready to go back. Mikey hit the beach, and I went to them, did some fishing, went to the beach.
Y'all went to the beach several times. I don't think y'all just one beach. Y'all went.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to get it all out of in 1 year where I don't have to go back for next
how
year.
that's
you go
the idea.
twice, well, you don't have to go back the next year.
There's only like a 6-week window where we get to go. And it's got to happen in there right after 4th of July before school starts back. And that's kind of what our plan was with the Buck Junkies. It's a good time. I mean, we're not really in buck mode that time of year, y'all know. It's that's when you got them summer food plots growing. You ain't doing too much to them. We're just letting the deer have their way with the land, and we go out and do some other stuff that we like doing, which is usually fishing or riding or a little bit of all of the above, something, yeah.
He said we didn't have to do nothing with the land, Mikey. I believe you'd probably argue that, wouldn't you?
I would.
Well, Mikey's been fighting a battle. That's the main topic today. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of our summer food plot program, Mikey.
We need to ugly can be capital letters. On it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you're gonna have that. Look, we are not experts. We're not farmers. We're not expert hunters. This is what we like to do, and that's what Buck Junkies is about. You don't have to be a TV star to do what we're doing, or have your own show, or belong to some expensive hunting club. It's just about, we got a little bit of land in Mississippi that we're hunting, trying to maintain, trying to make better habitat, and we're sharing what we're learning as we go.
I'll tell you, y'all negative Nancy on the plots.
I'm not. They
might be the brown bag special, but they're putting in work.
I have seen what they have done, so I know firsthand. We're starting to see deer show. We finally got cameras back out.
Yeah.
We don't run summer cameras the whole time. Most time, we take them up, and you're not going out there messing with batteries, and a lot of times there are growed up weeds when we go get them anyway.
Ants will kill a camera.
So usually, when do we pull those up? Right after hunting season, I guess.
Usually right after.
Yeah, turkey season.
Yeah,
right after
leave them
turkey
out
season.
for turkey season, then we pull them up.
You got to leave them out for turkey season.
Yeah.
That way you can pinpoint. Oh, gobbler.
I ain't gonna give too much away, but I've been pretty impressed. I understand they don't look like what you see on the side of the biologic bag.
Yeah, we knew that going in. But we were trying something new this year, and y'all heard us talk about it last season about the buffalo system we were putting in. And I tell you what, it's a challenge in Mississippi.
We had the cow system this year.
We had the cow system.
It was not a buffalo.
Yeah. But, so we're trying to take that same approach. That's going to be our main topic today. Just coming back from our break, and it's good to be back in the studio. We're going to start off with, what's been happening at the farm, Mikey. Dove season's coming. That's what kicks off hunting season for us and a lot of people in our state and around too, I guess.
It does. It gets everybody's blood pumping and gives you something to kind of work on when your food plots you're not really maintaining them or doing anything a whole lot to them. So it gives you something to start messing with, and messing with the dove field gets you kind of wound up. So hunting season's coming, and dove field's even a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot. We're going to talk about that in the summer plots. That's part of our program was plots for dove too, if you like to dove hunt.
Yep.
Right now we were at the spray part. So, they've already crops done what we wanted to do. You got to spray them. We're going to try to burn them, and then we're going to try to be ready for doves. So that's kind of what we had going on there.
Here, we'll back up.
Yeah, go for it.
Drill. What was your thoughts? That's something we used through the farm this year. I mean, it was eventful.
Oh, yeah, that was. Yeah, we did. After we borrowed a real deal drill from a buddy that had one on his place, and had some issues with them, really, because it's something, if you don't know, I guess if you don't keep on maintenance, they'll seize up on you once they are.
They tend to burn some gears up.
But you fixed it. Yeah,
it wasn't into it. That was just one of the things, I guess. Was that before the last podcast?
We were going into...
We had just planted or fixing the plant.
We were fixing the plant. Yeah, we planted about the first week of May, right before Memphis in May, before we went up there. Well, that week when y'all were getting ready, I was down there planting. Y'all were getting all that together, and so that would have been that first week of May. I don't think we've had a podcast since.
Yeah,
I think we talked about what we were going to do, but not what
we actually did.
What we actually did. So we did borrow a drill from a friend of ours that. It was one of those, what was the name of it? Great Plains. Yeah, so Great Plains drill. Just
big drill for us. Was 8 foot?
Yeah, it was 8 foot. It was,
And 8 foot's a lot bigger than you think.
yeah.
Behind the
That
truck.
ain't 8 foot wide. That's 8 foot of rows, right? And then you got tires and everything outside.
Oh, it's about 13 foot wide.
13, 14 feet wide.
That was one issue we had with it, was it couldn't get in places that we try to put plots. We've got these a lot of small, and we got some open area, but a lot of it's smaller half-acre plots that we like to do, and you just can't get them in. Can't get them in places like that.
It sounds great putting them on 3-point hitch, but once you get something big enough to cover ground that weighs so much, you really can't put it on 3-point hitch. So it has to be a pull behind.
Yeah, and our trails are ain't designed for it really. The road, it wasn't. I mean, the road to back, it's just a little gravel 1-lane road.
Yeah, it was tough using that thing because you can't back up with it, which you can't really back up with any planter while it's engaged. You know, that one you couldn't disengage it. You had to get out and manually, kind of like locking in a 4-wheel drive,
hubs.
old hub.
Mm-hmm.
It had hubs on it, so you had to, unlock it for you to be able to back up. And so if you went into a food plot and you got hung up where you had to back up, you had to get out, unlock the hubs, back up, turn it back around, and then lock them back in and take off again.
Well, was you happy with the way it planted, though?
No.
You weren't? Wasn't cutting deep enough, or just?
No, it cut deep enough. Once you figure out how to do it, it just, and maybe it was part of it not being,
It could have
maybe
been
the
transmission could have been.
messed up.
It could have been messed up
something.
before you got it.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So, when we did plant it, when I checked it, it was dropping seeds pretty good, and I'm not going to say we're going to try to use it again to see if it works or not. I think we're going to go a different way. But anyways,
It skipped a lot.
it skipped a lot, yes. And I was told after we done that, if your ground is not perfectly level, it ain't going to plant right.
Yeah. So if your field's not prepped.
Right, well, that, or if you're on a hill or anything, or if any kind of little whoop-de-doo out in the field is not going to put nothing down, so it'll skip it around real bad. Because I planted corn down one side of one of our stands down through there, just trying to get the corn out, and you can, I could tell it skipped it up bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But out in the fields, it did pretty good, other than what the turkeys scratched up or the crows ate out of the field.
So what all did we plant for people that don't know? I know we talked about it before, but I don't think that was necessarily locked in as far as exactly what we put in the ground this year.
So we planted about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 acres of corn. We planted about 6 acres of corn. It was a hybrid field corn. And then we had 2 different mixes that we planted. One was a blend that Malcolm and myself kind of did a little research on and looked at, and it was soybeans, cowpeas, vetch, sorghum, buckwheat, sunflowers, red clover, white clover, and a T-Raptor hybrid brassica. I don't know what the hell
Buffet.
it looks like a big like radish leaves.
Yeah,
and then we planted another blend, which our seed guy already had that in place.
That was local seeds.
Local seeds.
Summer.
Yeah, he had a
mix.
blend 3, he called it. I think he had 3 different kind of blends depending on where you was at. And, he had a little bit to fit any kind of scenario. And his was a little different. His was 36%. Well, it was soybeans, cowpeas, vetch, sorghum, buckwheat, sunflowers. And the percentages were a lot different on ours than his, too.
I didn't see the first sunflower.
That's what I was going to say. I don't remember seeing the first one.
They came up, but in all the plots, they came up. I found a few, but they didn't last. That drought got them things. I guess that's what got them. I mean, that's the only thing I can figure. I've never seen them not come up and at least make a plant even in a drought. But I guess it was just so dry that.
So our goal for doing this is we were trying out the Buffalo system. If y'all remember us talking about it last season, the Buffalo system it's kind of a growing program where you grow one crop or one season of taller plant-based material that the deer are going to feed on, but it gives you a lot of biomass to roll down or crimp down and plant your next season of crops into it
without disturbing the ground.
Without disturbing the
or
ground,
killing it or whatever.
Building soil. You're not causing erosion. You're not supposed to have to spray as much chemicals because the thatch acts as kind of a weed barrier, and you've already have some plants there to act as mass to let the new plants get up high enough to sustain where stuff doesn't eat them down. And we picked the summer as our starting point for this Buffalo system. And in our part of Mississippi, I will have to say it is hard to do. It does not want to work because you're not totally going to eliminate fertilizer and chemical spraying for weed control. When you start a Buffalo system, it takes you some time, but we were fighting a losing battle all summer long.
Yeah.
Well, too, I mean, the ground that we done this on is fairly new ground, I guess you
Yeah,
say. It
it
has
was.
never been a crop other than a hayfield.
That's
been
all
on
it was. Yeah, it was pasture land. Basically.
So, it's got a lot of
and not good hay.
Yeah.
It's just,
no, it's just crap grass everywhere.
Yeah.
Sage grass, everything that you don't want, Johnson grass. It's all the worst of the worst, and we were trying to work with it.
and once we got some of that, cut down, sprayed out, it was just a breeding ground for Johnson grass and goatweed. I mean, and thistle. I mean, that's what we had.
So what we learned, I mean, what I took from what we done, just the experiment, because we did a lot of experimenting too. I mean,
That's right.
We had the buffalo system that we did from the cereal grain that we had from the winter, and we rolled over that, planted into that. But we also tried, just a conventional starting over.
Tilling the ground.
Our best food plot today is the one we call the mud hole, and we tilled it down to the dirt. I tilled it down in the dirt, and we planted that, and that is by far today the best.
Oh, it's waist deep.
Yeah, right now that sorghum is about it's up to your neck.
And the deer are hitting it like crazy. I mean, they have been all summer long. That was one thing. So
But that field's always been good, though.
Yeah,
the ground's, I guess the ground's better.
It's
too.
wet,
It's
too.
It's shaded a little bit, but it does get some sun, and then it has a lot of moisture coming.
It's
through
not
there.
surrounded by sage grass.
It's not surrounded. Yeah, really, it's woods on all sides except for a ditch.
I did another one where I left our clover, left a full clover field out there. I sprayed it with clethodim, killed out the weeds, and then came back in and we just drilled straight into that just standing clover. I think I mowed it down and then drilled into it. Those plants came up, but it didn't do nothing. I mean, it pretty much didn't produce anything, which the cows got into it too. But
See, that was another. We're not going to start with the bad yet. We're going to start with the good. With us starting that buffalo system, and you heard the mix that we planted. What are some of the good takeaways that y'all think of that we had from what we've seen so far? Just going back out there, getting our cameras back out, looking at our cages we put out. What's some of the good?
Number one, I mean, we actually provided food the whole year.
All summer long. We've never done that on this place. Never had anything in the summer.
And that's really the first we've done cages to see how bad it was getting hit.
That was my biggest takeaway on the good is, man, we put food out there for the deer, and it shows now. Was when you ride through, there's deer. You see deer all over the place.
No, we probably seen last Friday, I probably seen close to 30 deer just going out, getting cages out of the way, checking on stuff, just normal.
Every time you turn a corner,
Yeah,
there's deer
it ain't
running.
like I was riding to look for them. We were out there doing stuff, and every time you'd round a corner, there was something in the field eating, And this is the first year we've seen fawns like we have.
A lot of twins. Healthy. The does don't look malnourished.
Yeah.
They're still big and healthy. I think it's put some weight on them. The bucks are fat that we're starting to see show up on camera. But that was the big takeaway on the good is that it actually worked as providing food for the herd, which that's probably the ultimate goal. Now, did our buffalo system work? We don't have anything to roll down, really.
No.
I don't think. Maybe mud hole. That might be the only plot you could if you wanted to.
That would be the only one that you would.
But there's still we're still battling weeds, so that's the big thing we've got to do. We learned a lot. I think there's no negative takeaway on that part because we learned what
That would be one of my
work.
positive takeaways to it is we learned that with the buffalo system when you do this you can't just
jump right in and expect.
Neither one of these mixes will work if your weed control is not your weeds are not under control and your soil is not right. Because the things that are in here are mixed. So you got grasses, you got broadleafs, you got brassicas. There is nothing that you can spray on that won't kill something in there. So that kind of hurt us, and
That's where it got away from us.
That's where it got away from us because there was no weed control done. We couldn't control the weeds. It was either kill, all of this stuff and try to save these three things or one thing, or kill these 3 or 4 things and all this stuff. But
that is a disadvantage of doing
mixes.
Multiple
It really
mixes
is.
like that.
I look at that as a big learn that makes you rethink of what you're putting in a mix. Can you spray it to keep the weeds out?
Well, I think we learned too is you can still have all the same crop that's in that mix, but plant a 20-foot row section of beans, split it up to where you can spray each section or something, vice versa.
You'd have to watch it for overspray and we know what you're going to do. You're going to kill some of it, but that would work, section it out.
Yeah, or at least plant, all your corn in one field, all your beans in one field. That way you have something to control for sure.
But so this year, going into this, what we took away from it is that, you know, we're going to take the Vetch, which was our best crop.
See, that was one thing. My big takeaway was, what did they love in that mix? And the Vetch has been the biggest thing. And I've never, the first year I've ever planted joint deer Vetch.
The pond stands pretty much
That's
all Vetch right now, right?
Yeah, total Vetch.
We wanted
to see.
To
we
take
did
that out of the mix and just because that was what was recommended by the biologist was plant Vetch. Don't plant nothing else. Just plant Vetch.
And Clover. Most people don't know what Vetch is.
I know what it is now, and I've seen it before, but
looks like a small fern kind of.
I never would have thought a deer would eat that.
Yeah, there's a great Mark took a great little video we put out on the social channel. Was that Tyler? Was that on
Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook and Instagram on Buck Junkie. If y'all go
check
follow
it
that
out.
It you can see the actual rows, how the seeder planted that Vetch, and then you can see the cage to show what it should have been if it wasn't for all the deer eating it.
But the Vetch was done with the no-till drill.
Yeah, I did it with that.
And it looks really, really good.
Yeah, it wasn't done with the cedar. It was done with the Great Plains instead of the. But I do think that the wood cedar would have planted that.
That's a little bitty grain, ain't it?
It was small.
Yeah, it's
really
small seed. But it's also a legume. So you can spray it to keep the weeds in, which we didn't. We were trying to save money, not buy as much chemical, right?
I did spray that field.
How much did you spray it once? Or?
I just sprayed it once. Yeah, the grass, that old barn grass that was out there, just common grass. It started to come up. Dallas grass got in it, and I sprayed it once. I run it. You spray it with clethanum.
Yeah,
I would say right now that Vetch is probably about 5 inches tall, and what's in the cage is pushing 3 feet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a substantial
I don't know how
difference.
tall it gets. I've never seen a solid field of it. But next year, that's going to be the primary plant that we plant for the summers, and that and buckwheat. I'd never planted buckwheat just to see what it did, and deer absolutely love it.
So the Vetch, is it going to die off?
Yeah,
frost to pretty much knock it back.
Yeah, it's like beans or anything. Right. It'll die off.
Yeah, it's in the soybean kind of family. I don't know if it actually produces a bean or legume. I hadn't looked at it that close.
I ain't gonna get that tall.
Yeah,
they're
not gonna let it.
There is something on them in the cage. I did notice that.
But they can't knock it back. Like even in the cages, we've got some beans, and some of those other cages you could pull out, and the beans were starting to bloom, and they were fixing to make. And our beans would have, if the deer hadn't ate them. You know that we probably would have had some more beans too.
How tall was the beans in that cage, Mark?
Probably close to 4 foot, 3.5 foot.
Yeah.
It was as tall as the cage was when I pulled it up.
Yeah. They're coming out top of the cage.
But just to understand the browse pressure in that field, which we had cows.
See, that was
we'll talk about that, but the browse pressure that we had on these fields were astronomical.
We're getting into the bad part now. The bad part. We realized that we didn't have enough food.
There is not
all of them told their buddies, come eat.
All of them told their buddies. That's right. Because they were eating it. They were eating beans. They were eating the peas. They were eating the buckwheat, the corn, anything that come up. They were mowing it down.
But I think we had more deer stay on the property this year. That's why
we've never seen deer like we have.
Not stay.
Still got fawns with spots.
We never were the bedding property. Right. We were kind of the corridor, and they were bedding out. Now, one thing that helped us, they did do some clear cutting of a block of woods that was
40 acres, probably.
Yeah, and they ruined that property.
They did.
I mean, it's terrible now. It looks like a bomb went off, which is good for us. Now, it'll probably grow up, and there'll be some bedding in it when it gets enough cover. But it'll be next year probably because it looks like crap now.
And that's one of the biggest things about the Johnson grass. You know, the new property over there, the Salem property. You know, it looks that looks bad, but once you get out in that,
you realize
you know, we got that Johnson grass. There's deer laying in the Johnson grass.
I mean, you pulled out there Friday.
Yeah.
We didn't get 5 foot off trail, pulled out, and a little fawn jumped up. I mean, 3 foot in front of the side by side. We was like, wait, don't go no further. That's it, you know. And it was beds everywhere.
Yeah, they love it.
It's got to be cooler or something laying.
It must be. I don't know. But the crazy thing to me is we put these cameras out and we're not seeing much nighttime activity. This is all daylight. The pictures we're getting are daylight pics of deer just feeding hottest part of the day. And we're still pushing, the past few weeks, we've been pushing 100 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, mid-90s, upper 90s, and the deer out eating at high noon. And so that was pretty crazy to me. And they've never done that in the past that I know of, that when you went down there, it was just hot, you know.
I'd like to know
what anything growing.
The science behind why these deer are staying in that kudzu.
They love it. Deer, that's a home for them there. They eat kudzu. Kudzu's great for deer. It sucks for you from a forestry standpoint, but it's great for deer.
But I'm just saying, like,
the only thing I can figure is
cooler
because nothing will grow under kudzu. I mean, it's just bare dirt.
Yeah.
Under. If you've ever walked in a kudzu patch and walked in there, it's pretty much just bare dirt in a solid kudzu patch. So I don't know if that dirt is
cooler,
and they're laying on the dirt.
Yeah.
Plus, there's not as many ticks, I would imagine, in kudzu as it is laying up in a thicket somewhere. But anything that survived that was one takeaway. Anything that survived this year, because this is probably one of the worst years. We pretty much went through a drought.
Yeah, we didn't have
drought
much
for a
rain.
while.
And that's going to happen. I mean, every bit of clover that we were trying to help, I mean, it burned up.
Yeah.
Clover plots look like crap right now. Now, once we start getting some rain, I have noticed that they start popping back.
Yeah. Some of the shady spots, you can still see it.
Yeah.
There's remnants of it, but it's not up very high. But yeah, anything that the sun is touching for more than 5 or 6 hours a day is gone.
And one other bad problem that we had was we're surrounded by neighbors on sides that got cows, and we had some cow infiltration into our plot. So as soon as the beans got up,
corn,
some of the corn
probably
got
50,
up,
60 head out at one time.
Yeah,
It was.
they found a gap in our fence, and then we had to let the neighbor know that they got to keep their cows on their side of the property, and that was a struggle. And they were still finding holes in the ditch where the fence.
They done found the groceries. They wasn't leaving them.
Yeah, and it was we were running. I mean, there was one cow that was determined to come back, and I don't know how many times I ran him out of the field. So that put a hurting on us too. That was bad. And I mean, I don't really know a solution to that. You've got to work with your neighbors. You got to, we weren't,
Oh, nobody's ugly with each other.
Yeah, we weren't ugly about it. We were just like, look, we're trying to do some experimenting over here. We're trying to grow stuff for deer. Nothing against your cows.
Not a Jersey cow.
Yeah.
If you want something good for your cows, we know what to plant.
Yeah. Nothing against your cows, but let's keep them on, that side of the fence.
Man, I might near cried.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went on vacation and it was about 10, 12 days that I didn't go to the farm.
Well, none of us went down there.
No.
And the cows knew.
Yeah.
I had just sprayed that field and I hand fertilized all that corn because we didn't have a tractor pull spreader that we had, and so I wound up having to do it by hand. So I threw 600-700 pounds of fertilizer by hand, and man, that stuff I knew it was going to jump. I was like, I'll come back and it'll be over your head. And I turned the corner, it looked like a desert. I just sprayed everything, so everything was dead, and then and there was nothing. I mean, there was absolutely nothing. There was no corn.
It was all you could tell where they ate it down. I mean, it was just
dirt.
It was
they ate
just
the corn at the
pies,
house.
cow pies everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had free reign for a couple of weeks.
Man, I come around through there and up by the pond, and it was about 40, 50.
When you called me, you said it was about 30, 40.
In the shade.
Yeah,
Man, I was ready just to
have hamburger meat.
Yeah, we was fixing to eat some hamburgers. I was mad.
But we think we got you think you got the fence fixed where they were getting in the last time we saw, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fixed.
Yeah. Took a little extra barbed wire. And
2 posts, and I bought some barbed wire from the Tractor Supply on the way down the other day, so drove 2 fence posts we had and strung up the barbed wire, and it was just a washout was what it was. So fences on the ditch, as they wash out, the deer cross them, but as they get wider and wash out more, if you got cows or something, it's not going to hold them in.
I was surprised. I don't know. I still don't know where they're coming in the ditch. If they're walking that whole ditch down to find that to come in, if they're coming down the other side.
There somewhere and goes kind of back south, towards. There is a split there somewhere, and I think they're coming in over there somewhere too.
And just walking right down the ditch because the ditch is dry. I mean,
which the neighbor, he did put up a actual barbed wire fence on his side of the ditch. Now
he's working on it.
I seen it the other day. He's got strands pulled.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
good.
I didn't see it all the way to the main gap, but right there in front of the mark plot,
He promised me he would get it done.
Yeah,
he put up a piece of hot wire back there too. So
they didn't even. Them cows
didn't phase them.
They'd run all.
They just send one sucker to knock it down, and the rest of them get free range.
But looking at that, I mean, as hard as they were from the deer eating them, from the cows getting them in them for a few weeks and really stunting, knocking out a few things, the vetch still bounced back. Where we had vetch planted, you could not stop it from growing. And even if the weeds come on because all the other stuff got ate out, when you look underneath those weeds, vetch is thriving. And so the deer are still in it. And I don't care as bad as it looks, overgrown with Johnson grass, with goat weed, there's a ton of stuff that deer are still eating, and I think they like that. I mean, it don't look good from our standpoint of having weeds in a plot, but from a food standpoint of something being available to draw deer in, it's still doing that job.
Yeah, that vetch is. I mean, it took grazing by the cows. It took still taking hard grazing by the deer. It went through a drought, and it did not get fertilized, not the first time.
And it's what, probably 6 or 8 inches tall now, probably?
Maybe. It may be over your sheaves, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not real tall, but it's holding up. You know, it produces.
There's 20 or 30 deer hit that plot every day.
I guarantee you right now, you pull the camera up and there's one out there, no doubt.
Yep.
The camera will take pictures right now, one walking in front, and you can see deer clear to the other end of the field. It's about a 2.5 acre field. Well, about 2 acres.
Just a vetch.
And it's 100. Well, how long is it? 100?
It's 100 from the stand to the end is like 187 yards, probably.
Is it that far? Doggone, I didn't know it was that far.
But the back of it, we didn't plant. We just let them stay.
Yeah, that first tree line, you probably want
next
50,
year that'll be vetch.
40.
So we're gonna have a lot of vetch next year.
I know. I definitely that's a big takeaway from summer plots. Is if you're in Mississippi, you have a high deer pressure. You want something that's going to grow no matter what. Plant joint vetch.
So, cost wise and maintenance, how much difference is vetch and then say white clover? I would say it'd be cheaper than clover, would it not?
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, it's probably cheaper than white clover, but I think it's more in the high heat. It's way more durable than white clover.
There ain't a stick of clover out there in the pond stand right now.
Because when the sun's beating down that clover in July and August, it's gone. Yeah. The deer eat it up when it's short. And you usually you mow it Memorial Day, 4th of July, then you hope your clover makes it to Labor Day. Because if you don't get some rain and the heat's beating down on it, I mean, it might thrive in some shady areas, but in the direct sun,
I don't know if they don't like vetch more than clover.
From what I'm seeing,
you ain't gonna have to mow vetch.
Yeah,
they gonna eat it down.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you hope. I mean, even if you have to, it's putting nitrogen back in the ground.
Yeah,
that's a good thing for your next fall plot. So I think we're going to be looking good on those. Now we hadn't pulled soil samples, but I guess our plan is now, from which to get ready to do fall stuff, we're fixing to start taking those plots out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we sprayed
last weekend.
I sprayed last weekend. Sprayed the dove field, and then I went down and sprayed the entire, from what we call the mark plot stand, all the way around that entire field, all the way back to the south.
But you got a bunch of watergrass in it.
It's got
8, horse 9
nettle
and
I think on the tractor it showed it being right at 7 total.
Yeah.
And that was just a loop we made on the tractor.
Yeah, it didn't get the whole.
Right, it didn't get the whole.
I think it's
field.
about we calculated about 8 acres. Yeah, about what it is.
So we sprayed all that. We'll start over with that. And our the theory I have, anyways, is to kind of leave some of those plots up there for them to feed. Not
because you don't want to turn them all the same time.
Yeah, just kind of stagger it.
We don't want to run the deer off.
Right. So we'll once this field dies out, we'll till it or just plant straight into it with the cedar, and we'll. Once it comes up and we see visual, plants down there for something for them to eat, we'll move to another plot.
Burn that one too?
No.
Probably not.
We're burning just the dove field, right?
Yeah. Well, so I guess the ugly I'm saying is the weeds. Weeds. That's what makes them look ugly. Now, is it a bad thing? I don't know.
As many deer as I seen last Friday, it ain't ugly.
Yeah.
It's working.
I had to pick an ugly. It was weeds and then close seconds cows.
Yeah.
As much as I like a good steak, okay, I hate them cows.
They was tough on it.
But so going back to the other summer plot we planted, the dove field, and if you're going to dove hunt, which is we all are, and we're going to take kids and all that stuff, what was our program? I guess you would say for what did we do different this year than we did last year?
So we moved last year. We had our dove field down and just kind of it was a designated spot down there in front of the south, that
low
8 acre field that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So it was a low spot where we were planting. We planted sunflowers. Sunflowers did okay.
Cows again.
Yeah, we had a lot
They
of
did get in them
cows
again.
get in them. Of course, deer were eating the heads off of them and stuff, but they did okay. We had a few birds, so we decided to move the dove field from that low spot up onto the top of a ridge, which it was a ridge that we didn't really use for anything. They used it for hay storage back before you bought the property, and there's a bunch of hay bales up there and stuff, but we moved it up there.
It's about 4 acres probably.
Yeah, somewhere right around that. So we tilled all that up. We planted a mix in there, which is brown top millet and milo. Cows eat it. They eat all the milo in it. Thank God the brown top millet is pretty. Yeah, they grazed it down, but it came.
I'll tell you what, the millet looked great.
Millet still
was
a friend of ours. That's all they do every year.
And it's supposed to be jam. I know it's jam up for ducks. People planting their duck holes, but for dove, they say they absolutely love it.
Yeah. So we sprayed that last weekend along with the other stuff. So we're gonna spray it, and what we done was we went around it
because we are gonna burn it.
We're gonna burn it. So we tilled probably 15, 20-foot burn rows or whatever you want to call them around the field, all the way around the field.
Took it to dirt.
So what we're going to do once we get through with that is legally you can put 50 pounds per acre down when you plant food plots. So we're going to throw wheat in those burn
49 pounds. 49
49
pounds.
Might be
Well, we're
more
going
like
to turn.
55.
So the goal is on that, turn it into a fall wheat plot.
Yeah.
And so the deer will come through there and eat the wheat. We'll get some advantage of it of getting to hunt some birds if we have some. And we've took that land that we weren't even using and turned it into a dove field. And we have seen some birds in it.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is about 150 of them are crows.
Yeah, we got man,
They
we got
loved
a
it when you
bad
cut
crow
it.
problem.
Anytime you tilled all that up, turn that dirt up, they just came to it. And the doves like some dirt too. Well, we've seen some dove.
Yeah.
I do crow wraps instead of dove wraps.
Hey, I ain't passed.
Have you ever ate crow?
I have
Like the
not.
saying goes.
Yeah.
You eat crow. I've heard of people doing it. Lawson has a big crow hunt over there in
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Well, what does he call that? Crap.
I don't know what
It's
he
something
calls it.
funny. I can't remember.
Crow
now.
shoot or something. But we'll have to look.
Yeah, I have to pull it up and look.
We need to have one. You can probably have one for maybe they won't come back. But
I've done it one time, and that's how it was. You put the call out there in some black garbage bags, and it looked like the sky would turn black for crows. But you had one time, and they wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
That's all
So
we
they're
want
smart.
to do.
Yeah.
Because they did get a lot of our corn.
As soon as we were putting that millet and stuff in, man, turkeys were on it, and there's turkeys that stayed out there and nested up and raised a clutch there right by the edge of that millet field. That was a good thing. That was a good thing.
We did learn about planting millet though. It's small and it will fall out of your planter. And ain't how many pounds me and Malcolm put on that field that day.
We put a good bit.
It's thick.
I look around Malcolm and said, "Make another pass." All right, let's go. I read the directions.
Yeah, we had it gapped open and going.
Yeah.
Dropping seeds. No, but that stuff come up. I mean, even after getting hammered by the cows, I don't think the deer touch it. I hadn't seen a deer grazing in it.
No.
Just driving around. I've never seen a deer in it. I don't know. They probably would.
If we didn't have everything else there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't
Might
know.
have
It's
fed
not
on it when it was first
little.
in the ground.
Now it's kind of it's bladed and it comes up.
But why are you burning millet?
I mean,
When you burn it, you get rid of the entire plant, and it leaves so the seed head will fall on the ground, and the seeds will be it's bare ground, it's bare burnt ground.
basically
You can
roasted them
see-
for them, right?
Yeah. And you can see all the
Seed
seeds. So
don't
the
burn
seed
up.
won't burn up. Just
Right.
just a dead plant.
Now, a friend of mine, he does a dove field every year, and that's all they do.
Most
is
people burn
millet.
their wheat fields like that too. Like if you have a whole wheat field, and we're probably going to try that next year. We may put some millet back in just to, if we have a good hunt this year. But I think the goal is, isn't it, Mikey, to go ahead and put wheat back in, let that crop mature,
Maintain a wheat field. All year.
maintain it all year long, let it reseed itself from bush hogging it. It'll come back up in next spring, summer. We may have to overseed it a little bit to get that going. But then when it comes this time again, you'll do the same thing. You'll terminate it, you'll burn it, and go right back to wheat again over the top. So you're just keeping a wheat rotation going, and the doves will come eat the wheat just like they will the millet. So
That's why I was talking to Josh the other day, the guy that does the millet, and they done sunflowers and milo. Deer mowed the sunflowers down. Milo didn't do much, and luckily the leftover seeds from last year reseeded, and now they got millet. And he said that's all that saved their dove field.
Really?
So that was the goal of it when Chisholm told us about those seeds. So
As much millet's out there right now, we're gonna have some come up next year.
yeah, it'll be hard not to. I mean, you're probably not going to break it. You're just going to drill or seed right into that.
Yeah,
what's there?
I can just take the
That food plot.
seeder and just turn the disc straight or turn them in if I need to, and
Might
just
try that new
take
planter.
off with it.
Well, the planter set up wrong.
Yeah, it ain't designed to plant wheat like that.
But yeah, this maintaining a food or a dove field on an area that you're deer hunting in, and you've got a high grazing pressure from the deer on that dove field. You got to be knowledgeable about what you're putting down. You put down sunflowers, and there's a lot of them. We learned that they'll just
Oh yeah, they love sunflowers.
destroy 'em.
I'll say for your money, sunflowers are expensive to make a
They
dove
are.
field with. You got to spray them. You got to hope you keep the weeds out of them. Have to keep the deer out of them, keep the cows out of them. I mean, it's a tough to
And if it don't head out, you don't have nothing.
Sunflower seeds are expensive.
They are.
Super expensive. Wheat's, I don't know what wheat's going to be this year. if you can find any.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's our big problem. We ain't started
Yeah.
sourcing wheat seed yet, but I'm hoping we can get some. If not, we may be back to ground zero.
Maybe try something else.
Try something else.
Plant millet. I mean, millet, milo.
Yeah,
again.
millet.
Yeah. But, the Milo headed out. Some of it came back, headed out after the cows got it.
It
It's
did.
not-
It's got some of us starting to get heads, but it ought
Yeah.
to be about waist high with a head on it right
Yeah.
now, and it ain't. It
What'd you-
finally came back.
What'd y'all think about the sorghum?
Man, and the
What
mud
made
was
it?
great, but I just don't know if there's the nutritional value for deer on it. I mean, if it was going to make tonnage to roll down to crimp, that was part of it to give us some more biomass, but it didn't there's some of it that in the big field down there, but it's not as thick as it is in Mudhole. I don't know why it got so thick there.
I don't know. It's doing good for weed suppression.
Yeah,
for the most part. There's some places it's kind of thick with weeds, but as far as weed suppression goes, it done really good. But I don't think it'll mature out or to where they're gonna mess with it until might near bow season. So by that time we're gonna be taking
Fall
it
apart
down
anyway.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna alleviate that. I know we're gonna alleviate that one's gone. Pretty much our mix for next year will be Vetch.
It's going to be unmixed.
It's going to be anything we can spray because
Yeah.
we're going to go back to using our chemicals to control our weeds.
We'll probably do iron and clay or cow peas, which is the same thing, and then maybe put some buckwheat in there with it. Those
heavy
three
Vetch.
things right there, we can spray the same chemical,
Yeah.
one chemical, and control all the grass.
And that's a good point. Like I say, everybody just goes to Walmart and buys a game mix and think they, you got it made.
That yeah, and that's something else you got to be careful about. We hadn't talked about that, but make sure you're getting quality seed because if you
Yeah,
go
look
down
at your
to
mixture. When you get at Walmart, you're getting ryegrass.
ryegrass, and
Yeah.
that's not good.
It looks green. It's pretty.
And it comes up anywhere, but there's no nutritional value in it.
You see them out there feeding.
They eat it.
They're eating the other stuff that's in the mix that's barely sticking up. The ryegrass
Yeah.
is just for a visual of green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a good looking green plot.
If they're eating the ryegrass, they ain't got nothing else to eat.
Yeah.
Like it's
I'd rather stay them waist deep in weeds and steady eating and staying in there than I'd have something like that.
So I'll bring up something else that this is probably kind of the ugly, but I think it looks pretty good. How'd our hack and squirt go?
it went excellent.
That
You know,
was-
I-
Wheat kills
When I was bush hogging,
I was surprised at how much sunlight.
oh, the
much-
pond's
how
got
much-
light on it now.
How much green was growing in the woods where we couldn't see before.
well, that took
Y'all
a
did
total of what, 6 months, 8 months tops.
for it to kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of them
It never turned green
No, y'all hit it. Y'all got it before it started.
Yeah.
We
greening
got it in
out.
February.
right after
March
to
hunting season.
March. Yeah, it was
Right before turkey season.
Turkey season.
Yeah.
And so 3 months ago, you could already see
Vegetation.
sunlight coming through
Sunlight
and
was all
green
good.
on the ground.
Vegetation's growing. Yeah.
And
They started to make a leaf. Some of them did it, but it never opened all the way up. Like it curled and budded, but it didn't. And then it went away.
Oh, I could
Whole
tell it.
trees are dead.
so people that maybe not heard when we talked about this before, me and Mikey got down there, I guess it was February, and we done what they call the hack and squirt, which is basically just some kind of, I don't know what the chemical's called, you do, but
Oh Lord.
basically it's
Tree killer.
It's a
Tree
blue
killer.
chemical. It's very, very strong. You put it in a little squirt bottle, you go out there to hatch it, no joke, you hack it, squirt it, and that tree is good as dead.
How much, like when you say squirter, you talking about like
I'm
one
talking about
trigger
like
pull?
doop, doop,
Like a
Two
spray
trigger
bottle.
pulls.
not
Spray
even a
bottle.
tablespoon.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
in
pull
the
the
cut.
hatchet back out, squirt it back in.
now they
you
did.
staying in one, because we got so many trees, you're not moving a whole lot. You're just hitting.
Yeah, you're just walking, hitting everything in your range. We
Picking which trees, because you're leaving the
leaving the oaks.
acre trees, right?
We're getting rid of all the sweet gums, all the thorn trees, all the crap trees.
Yeah.
And when we first started doing it, me and I was like, well, how big a tree, can we do this with? And he's like, oh, about 10 or 12 inches. So there was a couple in there. It was like a sweet gum that was 24, 30 inch. I was like, heck, screw it. We're already hacking
Two
and squirting.
squirts.
Yeah, hack that one twice.
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah.
It
Right.
killed it
The other-
dead in the doorknob. So,
Yeah.
But and then again, it sounds like a horrible idea.
but those are all invasive
That's
species
right.
trees that are not native to Mississippi where we're at.
And they're blocking your canopy. So they're
Yep.
stunting the growth of the acorn trees. They're stopping the forage that's on the
You have no
forest
vegetation
floor.
on the floor.
Yeah. So once you kill those out and they don't leaf out, that's where that sunlight comes down
Well,
and
that's-
all the other stuff's going to take off now.
When we talked to guys at the Corps Engineer, that's what they're saying. Just because the oak trees, 2 inches in diameter and 6 foot tall, don't mean it's a
2-year-old tree.
yeah. It might
Yeah.
be 10 years.
It's just been
because,
stunted.
Yeah, because everything else
Yeah.
is taking the nutrients.
And to give you a visual, where we done this at was probably what would you say? That's probably 2 acres, 3 acres we done.
Where you started.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a huge,
It's not a huge place.
you could do acres and acres and acres of it.
Yeah.
Like you could spend 2 weeks.
You better have you some good gloves, because we did have some blisters after hacking and squirting
I
that day.
believe it.
Oh, sweet gums are horrible down there.
Well, the bigger trees weren't the problem. It was the little bitty ones.
Yeah,
you
it'd
know,
be
there were.
clusters of 10 and 20 of them within a 4-foot area.
Yeah.
I know we said that we killed 200, 300, 400 trees. You know, those trees. Well, most of those were
Saplings, you'd say, size.
saplings, not even 1 inch in diameter. Hardly.
Yeah.
But we did kill some all the way up to about 10 to 12 inches in diameter.
But right now, I mean, there's vegetation on the floor. Where we done that at? Sunlight's making it to the ground. I don't know that you'll see acre and production change the first year. Probably it'd take 2 or 3 years
It's
for
going
that
to
to
help.
But it's got to help, no joke. I mean, there's a lot right there that those invasive species trees are taking away from what's supposed to be there, what's good for the wildlife, and what's good for the land. And
Yeah.
now, granted, in a couple of years, them trees are going to be dead and rotten, and you're going to have to deal with them then. But as long as they don't,
They'll eventually fall over and rot.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if you wanted to, next February we're going to saw and knock them all down and let them lay on the ground and rot if you wanted to.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
They'll fall. They'll start breaking. Their limbs will break.
They start
off
breaking
and
this
stuff,
year,
and it'll just
probably.
be it won't be that big of a deal once they die out.
And like one of the places was all those sweet gums on that levee.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have let them go, you're going to lose that pond. It's going to destroy that levee.
Yeah.
So
that was one of the biggest things the biologist told me is like, get those trees out of that levee like quick as you can. Okay, if you cut them down or you kill them or what, get them
Got
out.
a stump hole that's rotting and
Yep.
just letting water leak through the levee.
Well, he said the root system will go plumb through the levee. It's
It's
going to
going
go
to
to
water.
the nearest water. He
Yeah.
said it'll go plumb through your levee.
And then you have water spewing back out.
Now, we may lose the whole pond because we killed the whole levee.
Jamie you mowed that levee. It looks good.
Yeah. Well, on the
Did you do that on an angle? Or did you back down it?
on the angle.
God, you brave.
Just hang on.
Yeah.
Man, we were talking about that the other day. Does that
Yeah.
tractor have a roll bar in it?
It's
It's-
in the,
it's-
it's, yes.
Got it.
It's in
got
the
it.
cab.
It's only- it's
Will
in the
it handle
cab.
a rollover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They physically cannot sell that tractor until
Still
they
don't make me feel no better about going home.
No.
It don't do no good if you ain't got your seatbelt on.
It's true.
It's still going to beat you around.
That's
There
true.
you go. Roll on you probably.
That's
Most of the time, the tractor will start
It should
sliding.
slide
It should
before.
slide.
It ain't going to slide with that
Before-
limb cutter on there.
It does not slide with the limb cutter.
No,
It
you're
starts-
you're working against gravity on that one.
That thing will go over so fast. Lord, it goes over fast.
We also did some ditch work,
Yes.
and we're hoping that's gonna help that 8-acre field we were talking about. We were having a water grass problem in it because
Just holding water.
it was holding
Staying
water
rotten.
in different spots, and we had no idea why. Because for us, the field looked pretty level. I mean, you would not think there's an elevation
I said
change in it.
3, maybe 4 foot
Yeah.
from one end to other on 7 acres, 8 acres. It was
So
out. But
we're lucky enough to have a good friend that is a heck of a farmer in Tunica, and it's got more equipment than we would know what to do with, and technology that we don't have a clue
Way
how it
above our
works.
pay grade, yeah.
But so I reached out to him. He's got basically a ditch digger, a ditch thrower, whatever you want to call it. They use them in rice fields. Most of everything he does is land leveled, so you don't have to worry about it. But he still uses it on his turn rows and stuff. But it's all GPS controlled. So we got in the tractor, we rode the perimeter of the field, mapped it out, and then we ride down the
which
middle.
was 7 acres, what y'all mapped
What
out.
we
pretty
mapped out
much.
was 7 acres. And then basically you run the tractor right up the middle of the field, and it gives you an idea. It shows you on like a topograph of what the elevation is doing. And this field's flat. Like
Looking at
It
it.
looks really flat.
you walk to the end of it, and you're like, all right, it might be a foot from end to end. From the end of this field to where our culvert was 13 feet difference. And once we got that figured out, he's got the same program. You go in there and say simulate rain. You click on the button. It shows a little cartoonish looking rain, and it shows where all the water will go in that field and basically where it's staying, where it's pooling. And it was dead nuts.
Exactly where we had
Exactly
problems,
where the
it
problems
stayed rotten in the corners and the low
Yeah,
spots.
because we lost some of our fall plots.
Yeah.
That
The clover
ground
was
is
sitting
rotten.
in there. Yeah, ground just rotten. It killed the seeds. And
So once we seen where the rainfall was actually staying and not draining off, you basically map out your ditch. The GPS controls everything as far as elevation. You drop the ditch cutter in the ground and you start driving. And he had it set up to where he was actually driving it. But that same program you can hit map yourself, and it'll drive the tractor and you don't touch anything.
How does it know how deep to cut?
Just for elevation. You can put in there, like, it's got parameters. So you can say you don't want it to cut a ditch any deeper than 1 foot, and it figures out the grade from 1 foot to whatever the highest point is. and it'll calculate the fall for you, so it has the correct fall.
That's crazy.
Or you can say, I mean, it'll, it'll cut down 3 foot. It's a deep ditch, but we're still working that field. We'll be crossing this ditch.
Yeah.
We're gonna slope the slides back.
We're gonna grade it off to
it.
where it's a gradual fall to the ditch, but it should work. And if everything looks good, next year we can bring pans in there with the tractor and really make that field what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause he went with us on vacation to Colorado, and he was talking about a field that I forgot how many 100 acres it was, and he got that whole field within like, I don't know, less than an inch of fall. That's how
Whole field. Yeah.
He figures his fields, and I'm not a farmer, so I'm not going to say this correct, and probably you farmers out there are going to laugh at me. But basically, they figure it on if we have an inch of rain, they control the grade of the field to know how much water is absorbed into the dirt versus how much water is run off. So if they don't want but X amount of water in the field, they have put a higher grade on it to where the water runs off to their drainage. If they need more water in that field, it's flatter, so it has more time to absorb. And that's kind of what we're having the issue of. The water was not moving at all, so it was just absorbing in the ground and staying there. And then you rot your roots, kills your plants, all that stuff. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see. Like, we had a little rain today. I don't know if we had some down there, but I want to see what it does during a rain.
We're gonna look for a thunderstorm. We're all gonna go down there,
ride down there, and watch the ditch.
It won't take long because I had a picture from last year when that thing was flooded, and I think it was like towards the end of September.
Yeah.
We got a heavy rain when I was down there working one day. I got caught by the storm, and it flooded that field fast, and all the water was just standing, and it didn't move. So it won't take too long. We'll figure out what it's gonna do.
Yeah,
definitely got to get some flags up. We come through there kind of heavy on Miller Lights or something, doing a perimeter check. It's gonna turn up.
You'll lose a feeling.
Yeah, it'll turn you over quick.
Go end over end.
End over end. Yeah, you don't want to come with that gapped open.
No, you come that gapped open, you got problems.
So we got some new toys for the farm though.
We did. We got we talked about that lane shark last time. We had been hauling fuel from just 5 gallon. I guess 5.
Yeah,
those one jugs maybe the diesel jug maybe 7 gallons. Or Jamie had a tank on your truck.
Yeah.
And so you would fill the tractor up. It was just, we realized that we're using enough fuel to have some kind of a fuel storage tank. And we got to looking. There was no inexpensive option. Like, you find these old tanks that people have maybe in an auction or somewhere, but you don't know what they're like on the inside.
You might be buying rust.
Yeah.
We had one guy try to give me one, and that was like, no.
Yeah.
It was, you don't want to be dealing with that crap.
Well, these new tractors will not tolerate any trash in the fuel. You get that.
So we got to digging around. I think, Mikey, you spotted one first on Northern Tool, wasn't it?
I found it on Northern Tool. It was for a construction site type
diesel holding tank. Now, it's for diesel only. You're not supposed to put regular gasoline or kerosene or anything like that in it. But for diesel, it was recommended. And it was, how many gallons was it, Jamie?
140.
Yeah, 110 maybe. 110?
I think it's a 150-gallon tank, ain't it?
No, it's not that big. It's this. It's like
might be 130. Might be 130.
130, something like that.
Well, I found it. I got to searching after seeing the one Northern Tool didn't have it in stock, and the delivery date was like months out. So I got to kind of looking, and I found a place in Oklahoma called Tank Depot. And that's where they had the tank cheaper than Northern Tool did.
It's a Swedish-made tank, maybe?
I think it is. But it's a plastic tank that comes with like a little lift-up storage compartment on top, and that's where your pump and your battery hookup and all that is. And
it
Jamie,
comes with the pump.
Yeah, you remember how much I paid for that? It was
$1,300. That was
total shipping and all.
Shipping,
which is the cheapest option we could find to hold that much fuel. And Jamie, you set it up. Maybe you want to talk about what it took.
Me and Mikey put it on the trailer, just carried the trailer, but it's just got a 12-up pump. You can hook up on your battery, your tractor, your truck, whatever, and pump it. And it's faster pump than what my truck has. It's pretty dang fast.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. That sounds like a lot of money. Them pumps, like a regular diesel pump, like a pump $700-800.
Yeah,
I mean the tank in my truck was $2,300-2,400. A tank and a pump,
and it only holds what, 50 gallons?
42 or 44.
Yeah.
We were looking at spending $3,000 to $4,000 on a good size, 100-gallon or more tank with a pump, and this one just kind of, I just happened to come across it.
It's got like skids on the bottom for pallet forks or skid steer with pallet forks.
That's what I like about it. You can put it in the back of your pickup truck. Two people can lift it no problem when it's empty.
Yeah, you had to weigh nothing.
Yeah, don't weigh anything. Take it and fill it up, and then lift it out with your tractor.
It's got 4 D-rings that mount on top 4 corners. You can pick it up with a chain hoist or anything like that.
I will say it gets heavier than you think it does.
Oh, when it's full,
Yeah.
I guarantee it does.
Yeah, your little 5'8" trailer it's pretty much
Struggling?
loaded.
Oh, it probably, probably 1,000 pounds of it, isn't it?
It don't weigh no more than a Can-Am. You're good.
Yeah. The downfall is the truck stop would only let me do $175 at a time. So it took 3 trips, I think, to.
Did you go over on the diesel on the 18-wheeler side, or did you go?
No, we had a bad experience in Colorado with every diesel place we went to on 18-wheeler side would not take a debit card or credit card.
Oh, you got to go in.
No. Not every. It was just one Love's truck stop in Oklahoma. And they had to figure out, they took all their idiots that work at Love's and they put them all in that one truck stop.
That night.
And it was the biggest, it was a fiasco.
If you got a fuel card to work at the pump, you
That's
got
what-
fuel man.
18-wheelers are coming in there
Yeah,
too.
that
Oh,
was
really?
it was
Nobody's
messed up.
Oh, wow.
It was a train wreck. I love me some Love's. I will never stop on that one again.
It's on the
Highway
list.
69 and 40 in Oklahoma. Y'all be careful.
Stay out of that
Yeah.
one.
They'll charge you $300 for one can of Skull.
Dang.
But no,
There.
the tank's gonna be a lifesaver. It's like they hook it up behind the truck, run the store, fill it up, and you're good to go.
Now I'm trying to find a gas.
I looked, and yes, the problem
The
with
pump
gas
is the issue.
Yeah, the pump's the issue with
transfer tank or
because gas is so much more flammable.
that's why they don't want
that's
you
where
using
your
it in
issue
there.
comes
It's not
in,
that
yep.
the tank won't hold it.
Correct.
The tank would hold it and pump
It's
it. They're
the
just worried
pump and
about spark.
ventilation that you
Yeah.
have to worry about.
They're worried about spark.
Yep.
But there is a way to do it. We got to
Yeah.
figure it out.
I wonder if you could run like an external pump off to the side or something that.
It has to be for. It's got to be a diaphragm pump. I think
It's got to be something that's not gonna like
create friction.
like a regular pump's got brushes and stuff like that. It can't do nothing that's gonna cause any kind of static electricity or any kind of
Gotcha.
possible spark.
Which
at
we
all.
could
Better
get
stay
a.
away from that.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. That ain't no big deal.
I didn't even think about all that.
Diesel you ain't got to worry about. Which heck, that gas nowadays won't light anyway. But we got something. We made a trip and got
This morning.
this morning. We
Just
loaded
got
up.
back.
We
Got-
Facebook Marketplace find. Who did you find that?
Miles
found
found it. I have to tell you, he's a farmer in
Yeah.
the back pocket. He's behind the scenes.
He
But,
found a heavy disc.
yeah, it
we've
was
been
a-
looking for.
Massey Ferguson 52. I think it's a 10-foot wide.
Oh, in 1970 something model did.
It's old.
But
I thought it was 1950 model.
52.
might be.
It is. I mean, it's an older disc, but I mean, that's what you want. You can put a little money in it, touch it up with some paint. It's good as gold. And
You can't find a new one now.
no,
I mean,
and this one for the price, $1,500.
you
don't-
ask these dealers, they don't have heavy disc.
That's what John over at the John Deere place. We talked to him this morning, and that's what he said. He's got tractors that's coming in now that he ordered a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people got away from that heavy tillage stuff anyway. They're trying to do the no-till, and so you don't see them as much. And then you find these old used ones, people want to hold on to them.
Yeah,
It's rare that you find one, but we got lucky and found that one.
it's in. It needs a little work, but it's in decent shape. There's, it's usable by no mean.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll
Do
put
you
a
want to tell them why we bought it?
You can.
So we're probably not going to do the.
We're scratching the buffalo system.
We're not throwing it out the
We're not
window.
throwing it out the window.
We got to
We've-
get the ground established.
We have got to get the ground right for it. And
One of the things that we noticed, though, just what I was saying about like mud hole, the conventional way, the plants did way better.
yeah,
And we did notice that in the buffalo system, they were really stunted and didn't want to. It wasn't nowhere near the same height. So
Oh, if you go looking at yield, you ain't yield near about.
We knew that going into it, but it's just man,
did.
And we're not
3 years
giving
in a
up
row.
on it. We're just going to go just.
well, we were told, when we started getting our seeds, he said, "Guy, look,
Yeah, he
y'all,
told
this ain't gonna work in Mississippi like you think it's going to. It might work.
You go to the
On the
Delta where a
Northeast.
field's been planted for 20 years, it'll work.
Maybe, it'd probably work better there, where you got enough room to grow that much beans. You could probably do it, but what we're trying to do, and the people up northeast, they do it. They have different climates. It works better. But what we're doing on the ground we were working on, he'd do from the jump.
Yeah. Well, some of the other things that we didn't talk about, and honestly, when we were researching this system, I did not see these videos until later on.
Yeah.
Way back.
This was new
in
to
this
us.
guy's-
We're experimenting.
one of the guys we were watching. He puts electric fence around his,
Yeah.
where can't nothing get into it.
To let it get out
To
of the
let
ground
it
and
get
going.
way up, And once he lets it get to that point, he'll open it up and let the deer
Heck,
in. But
by then, the deer don't want somewhere else.
that's right.
Yeah, that's what I say. Why would you want to keep them off of it?
You close the doors on your restaurant. I ain't showing back up
right.
to see if you open.
That was one reason why I don't, good, bad, and ugly, whatever. I ain't mad because we accomplished our goal.
We never would have
of
found
feeding
Vetch.
deer. Yeah, that's right. We accomplished our goal of having food for the deer. Now, is it going to work to roll for the next? No, we're going to have to start back over in fall.
So when you're looking at these videos and things like, just be careful of the commercialized stuff. Because
Yeah.
we know about videos. I mean, you drop a rack of ribs on the ground, you're not fixing to pick it up and shoot a video with it. You're gonna get the best one out of the grill, ain't you?
That's right. We got to get them too. We're going to piece it back together if
That's
we have
right.
to. Yeah.
So they're gonna take the pictures of their best field. They're gonna film in their best field. They're not gonna show you one that the deer eat plumb to the ground because they didn't have a fence around it. He did in one of them. They probably went back and took that out. But anyways,
I think that's right too. I mean, I don't. We'll end up having a mix. Like we're going to do conventional till we get our weeds under control. Then we're going to try the buffalo systems.
still gonna do the mix.
Gradually, you're going to have to fertilize. You're going to have to use chemicals to control weeds.
Yeah.
Until you do that for several years, you back off, and then hopefully the end result will be not having to and repairing your soil, building soil, and all that. Which I love that idea. That's why I wanted to do the buffalo systems because it's so much better for the earth, basically. And then, I mean, and I don't like the idea of having to buy all these different chemicals every year. I mean, we don't spray as much in the fall, but the summer you're having to hit it.
Yeah. Our
Spring and
ground is
summer.
just so bad.
Yeah.
It's getting there though. It's getting better.
And we're hill country. I mean, it's not. This ain't Delta good farmland.
Oh, that's why
Wasn't
there's
meant to
no
be.
agriculture around us.
We're Johnson grass country.
The only place you see agriculture
grow.
around us is around those big ditches and stuff like the Strayhorn ditch and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
see beans and some stuff out there, but on these hills and stuff like that.
We got hay
you
and
don't see
cows.
nothing.
That's it.
Just hay and cows. That's it.
I mean, that Johnson grass is evil stuff. You can't hardly do nothing with it. It's like jungle grass.
If the damn cows get over and eat it instead of eating our
Yes,
food,
Yeah, no joke.
We need to put an arrow where to go.
I wish we could figure out something to spray on it to make the deer want to eat it. I don't think deer touch Johnson grass.
What a goat. I've always been around goat weed,
Goat.
but I don't know if deer eat the goat weed or not.
Shell's been wanting some goats, Malcolm.
Yeah, goats will eat goat weed.
Every week you got to go down there and
We
move
got to
them.
put feeders
So,
out for goats.
Yeah, that's right.
We do.
You got to keep your goats fed.
Yeah.
Hey, goats will destroy all of your
Browse.
Kudzu,
browse. Yeah, for kudzu.
It won't be a leaf.
They'll eat the ditch out of the kudzu. They'll clean up your woods. Have y'all seen these people that rent the goat herds? They'll bring them out in a trailer. They all live in that trailer and
Is
they're
that
pinned
the-
out.
Is that the petting zoo that come out here at the time?
They probably do that.
Ride them out on
I
the
mean,
train.
a goat is a bad machine.
He is. I bought Melissa one time at Trade Days.
He ate it all, didn't he?
Man,
No.
she wanted a goat. She
It ate
wanted a
everything
goat.
but a Dalmatian.
Everything but a Dalmatian.
The Dalmatian ate him.
Oh, really?
We threw
Yeah,
that
those are
thing.
mean
What was
dogs.
that, y'all? Y'all had a dog pen. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
Where your deer dogs used to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forgot about all that.
But anyways, that thing was grown up. It was over your head. Had a pine tree right in the middle of a small pine tree, and I throwed that thing, and you couldn't even see the poor goat. I mean, it was so thick. And in about 2 weeks, he eat that thing down to dirt. He eat all the bark off the pine tree. He eat everything.
He was ready for the next bite.
Yeah, he's ready for the next spot, and the dog got him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, we about wrapped it up. Y'all cooked anything good?
You did some fish last week.
Yeah, I did some catfish. I mean, I got in the habit of start back cooking deer meat because I got I got to get this deer meat out of the freezer. So I did a roast.
Hey,
today.
I cooked my last bag last night.
Did
so
you? Yeah, it's
I'm
time.
open for freebies.
And Shell asked me a while ago. She's like, "You got another one deer roast at home?" I said, "I got to go back down to San Antonio. I got one deep freeze. We're gonna try to eat it all up."
I got several roasts I need to eat up.
That's the best thing I've cooked. I mean, here lately, I did the Mississippi pot roast version of a deer roast. Where
We
you
did that in
good,
Colorado,
too.
and it
God,
was so good.
It cooked down, and it is easy. All you do is take one stick of butter, one au jus like dry mix powder packet, one ranch packet, and then put some peppercini peppers and a little juice in there, and put that in a dry crock pot. Season the roast up. You got to season your roast up a little bit. You don't put anything else with it. Lid on 8 hours. That thing will fall apart. No, it makes its own liquid, and it makes a ton of it. Man, it made some of the best. We did almost like a open face sandwich with it and put cheese over the top, stuck it under the broiler in the oven and melted it down.
Bread get a little soggy.
God, it was so good. And drizzled some of that juice back over the top of it.
I learned in
That was
Colorado,
fun.
though, they do make a hot and a mild peppercini.
Oh, I've had some hot ones too.
And we got the hot and did not know it. And it was light you up roast. That's the hottest roast I've ever ate in my life. It was good, but it was spicy.
I've made that mistake. Didn't have pepperoncinis and put a jar of these. They're called sport peppers. They look like little yellow peppers. Like it looks like a little baby pepperoni or something. They're long, kind of. Man, it got carrots. Like I made a roast and had carrots and onions and potatoes. You couldn't eat. You couldn't. I mean, the meat you couldn't touch, but the carrots and the potatoes, they would light you up. That's probably one of the worst disasters of a meal I ever cooked. And Shell was like, "You gonna try to eat this?" And I was sitting there, man, I was dying, sweat pouring out of me everywhere. And I was determined I'm eating this roast.
I think that's the same pepper your daddy put in pickles one time.
Might have been. They were so hot.
He said
Little
he
bit
had
sport
some
peppers.
Yeah, they look like almost like a not a pepper. What is it called?
They're yellow like
Tabasco looking pepper.
Yeah, they're yellow like a pepperoni, but they're shaped like a little Tabasco. And they put them on like Chicago dogs. You ever had a Chicago dog with the two little peppers on it? Don't let them things fool you. They're hot. They will get you. Well, y'all got anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning back in. We're excited to get this season kicked off. And we're coming up. You know, dove season's on the way. Deer season's around the corner. We got to talk about this new velvet season coming up. That's going to be a topic.
Mississippi velvet.
I'm not for it, but we'll talk about pros and cons and which side of the fence y'all are on it. But anyway, if y'all didn't know, they made a velvet season in the end of August for private land, but it sucks. But we'll get into all that in the next few episodes. Y'all just tune back in. Follow us on social media. Tyler, what is it? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
You got it.
Buck Junkies.
On YouTube as well.
That's it. YouTube, we're doing videos on there, and appreciate y'all subscribing to the podcast, and we'll see y'all next week. We gone.